Yo, what's happening, y'all? Today we're gonna be reacting to Tom's Creeps Almost Escaped on To Catch a Predator. And yeah, I haven't watched this video yet, but we're gonna watch it right now. Um, let's go ahead and get started.
These are the times predators almost got away on To Catch a Predator. And this right here was just 19 years old.
Is 19-year-old Eric Hallison.
You've
This
seen
boy was
all
19.
sorts of creepy
That's
old
crazy.
men showing up at the Sting House. But today, we have a 19-year-old who has set his eyes on a girl 7 years younger to him. I'm not surprised that he showed up. One look and you know this guy is a creep. But can guys honestly not find women of their age? Why do they want to show dominance where it is not even needed? And this dude did not even have much experience to back him up. He just wanted to try stuff with someone who had
Why
much
is it
less
lagging?
experience than himself. And that's how the decoy team got in touch with him. Just as Eric Pallison, who went by the screen name Jazzy Man 04, made his way to the house. Right off the bat, you could see him
See, I
beaming with
don't know
happiness.
why they always like make these weird names. Like every time they have an episode of To Catch a Predator, it's always some weird name like.
Sure enough, this creep had no idea what he was getting himself into.
Can I help you?
Also, my bad. It's like, yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm tired. So I'm sorry I'm quiet.
And in comes our man, Chris Hansen, throwing shade on all of Eric's plans for the day. No matter how many times I see this, I cannot have enough of these moments where Hansen shows up out of nowhere. The look on this sicko's face is absolutely worth watching. Eric was clearly puzzled to find a 6-foot-tall, well-dressed man in place of his lovely date for the night. Eric walked into the house with high hopes of doing the thing. But what the
Dick
heck was
Rider,
this
he
man
said,
doing here?
6
Well,
foot
Eric,
tall,
let me
handsome
explain
looking
that for
man.
you. Hansen is here to make your life miserable, and soon enough, you would be praying to wipe this part of your memory out forever. I mean, we've seen some
I
seasoned
don't
men who
doubt
were
it.
left stunned when Hansen showed up, and Eric was just an immature pile of crap. Sometimes I really want to examine these men and their brains as to why they do what they do. Like, who in their right mind, while being married and having kids, would want to do stuff with a kid? Anyway, Eric did not waste a second before making a run for it. Probably he thought he could get away and scoot off in that car of his. But obviously, we all know that's not what's going to happen. Before he could reach his car, Jazzy Man 04 was caught by the cops, and he was probably even tased right down. There is something I truly enjoy about tasing the hell out of these guys. Trust me, it's honestly satisfying to watch, as I believe at the end of the day, this is what they truly deserve. The only thing that gets me is that this creep was just 19. He had his whole life laid out in front of him, and he
That's what I'm
decided to throw
saying.
it all away over a fantasy that could have
That
easily
boy
been
19
remedied.
already
On the
a
other
predator.
hand, here's the scary part. If this guy can do so much, even before he hits his 20s, what do you think he'd become once he grows older? Well, you think about those innumerable possibilities. Let's move over to this next weirdo who played an Uno reverse card on us by being a cop himself.
What do you suppose your chief's going to say about this?
He's gonna be too happy.
Yeah, there's been a couple cops that they
This
arrested on
is
here.
Michael Patterson, a seasoned police officer who had just one job to do, to keep you safe. But once you know the dark truths that hid behind his uniform, he'd actually run away from him because this guy used the guise of a cop to lure his prey. Michael Patterson drove all the way up from Indiana to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and he was really dedicated to make that 5.5-hour drive.
Bowling Green. See, I live in Kentucky, so I know where that's at, man. I for real do. That's not too far from here, from where I'm at.
Only to make out with someone who was nowhere his match. None of the decoy team members expected Michael to show up, not even the decoy herself, because why would anyone come all the way just to meet a girl? But Michael proved them all wrong. The creepy cop who went by the screen name John Raven 2000 had just struck a conversation with a decoy online, and almost immediately he jumped into the same crap that most monsters like him are interested in. He first asked her
Damn,
all
so they
the
doing
obvious
all this shit
questions,
all the
and
way
then
down
dug
in
into things like
Kentucky.
her
Okay, I
ex-boyfriend
see.
and what she did with
I
him.
see,
But our
Chris.
man here doesn't stop at that, as he goes on to ask her this.
Would you do it to me?
Would you want me to?
Yes.
Yeah, it would
Why,
be cool to try stuff out. You're cute.
20 minutes later, Michael was on his way to see the girl, which means it just took 2 hours of dirty talking to get this man out of his bed and drive straight into the girl's pants. But there was something alarming about this guy that had to be considered with the greatest of care.
Got off the phone with the guy who's claiming to be a cop. We don't know that he is, but he says he carries his gun everywhere with him.
So Michael had himself confess that he carried a firearm with him everywhere he went, which means whether he was a good cop or not, he could turn out to be dangerous at any moment. This interrogation was going to be challenging. The pressure was now on the decoy. The pressure was now on the decoy, who will be the only one to receive him at the door.
Some of these
And I
girls
have
be
to
fine
say,
on here,
she
bro.
handled it like a pro. It was important for the decoy to appear calm and composed, because this guy might have a weapon on him. But hey, he was here for a different reason, so the decoy had to literally make him feel at ease, so he doesn't feel the need to bring the weapon along into the sting house. And so the actress put up her best act and behaved like a bubbly young girl, irrespective of how she was feeling inside. But we can never be too sure, and that is why the decoy team gave the actress specific instructions, and this was the first step.
Lift up your shirt. Turn around. Lift up your pants.
You're killing me.
The decoy then asked him to turn his pockets inside out, and once it appeared like he did not have any metal on him, the team asked the decoy to call him over. Now, this doesn't take away the risk factor in any way, because you can never be too sure when it comes to creeps like this.
See, I'm not a pedophile, but if I'm never gonna be a pedophile, okay? I'm never but I feel like if I was in his position, like that would be a red flag for me if she was like just at the door saying lift up your shirt, cause if she's naive enough to like let you come to her house, she obviously not worried about the danger. You feel me? So that's I don't know. That's him.
But for now, this was the best they could do to ensure the decoy's safety. And while the decoy was shitting bricks behind the sweet smile she was putting up, Michael could not stop joking about her suspicions. Michael then reveals his identity to the decoy.
So you're a cop, not a detective?
Detective, yeah. I'm a lieutenant.
Oh, okay.
Michael then goes on to admit that he was pretty excited to be here. Well, of course he was, as he wouldn't have driven all the way if he wasn't. But guess who else was excited? Chris Hansen, for this is how he made his entry.
Lieutenant,
What's up?
what are we investigating tonight?
Nothing much.
Hansen then asked Michael what he was
No,
doing
nothing.
there, and all Michael
Nothing,
said
just
was
chilling.
this.
Just, I'm just lonely. I don't have anybody and
Lonely.
need somebody to talk to.
Well, of course you need someone to talk to, but how about being a little mindful of the age factor when you feel the need for a special friend? And what's crazy is that this guy was well aware of the law. He was a cop, for Christ's sake, and still he was here. But here comes the most infuriating part. When Hansen read his dirty chats aloud, this is how Michael reacted.
Am I supposed to know what to do with old men? Only with me. So this is funny.
I know. I'm sorry, sir.
It's funny.
The nerve on this guy to giggle like a piglet, but that did not stop Hansen from tightening the noose around his neck. He further pressed him to answer why he disregarded all his years of experience in law enforcement just to meet a girl, and Michael had the lamest excuse to make. He said,
It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going through a divorce partially. And
So that makes it okay.
no, it's not okay.
you don't have
It'll never be okay.
after all that, there's only one thing that Michael deserved.
Yeah, see, there's also like a bunch of toxic relationships too. Could you imagine being like, oh, I got a new girl, and that new girl be 13 years old? That's crazy.
Did this guy really think that he could get
I
away
don't
with a
know.
meaningless
this
apology?
man
Well,
is on.
sadly for him, that's not how things work. And what you're about to see next is the most pleasing thing I've heard in a while.
Back into the house, and an officer shoots him with a taser gun.
And just when you think he's knocked out for good. I don't know how this creep was able to get back on his feet and run, but how far can he go? Just as he tried to
he
make
running.
a run for it, the cops literally knocked him over, and with that came the end of another wacko. But this next guy,
So like honestly, I feel like they could have handled that more like professionally.
Shoots him with a taser
Like you see that boy, he was right there. He was chilling. He wasn't doing nothing wrong. Like at that exact moment.
gun.
and just
And they
when you
just
think he's
automatically
knocked
take
out
him
for
for no
good. I
reason.
don't know how this creep was able to get back on his feet and run, but how far can he
I don't
go?
know too much
Just as he
about that.
tried to make a run for it, the cops literally knocked him over, and with that came the end of another wacko. But this next guy, who was initially alarmed by the sound of a walkie-talkie, drove around the block and walked right into the trap.
Well, this is the hot tub.
Cool.
We can hang out here.
Kaze Majub, aka Matt, was here to meet a girl who had just hit her
What a fucking
teens.
name.
And just as he parked his car and walked towards the girl, this is what happened.
What? What's what?
This guy comes across as an overly cautious creep. The
That
crackling
was real
sound of the
good.
device spooked the hell out of Matt, and this sent him bolting back
I mean,
towards
it
his
would've me
car.
too.
The decoy team assumed Matt was gone for good, but this creep was so desperate that he circled around the block and came right back to see the girl again. If you ask me, bro, you should have gone with your gut instinct, because what's gonna
That's what
happen
I'm saying.
next
That
will
boy
be your
shoulda had
worst
that.
nightmare. Matt was still suspicious, but not enough to drive back to where he came from. Once he scanned the place from the outside, this is what happened.
Why'd you go away?
I thought it had something to do with police.
But before we get into busting his behind, let's quickly take a look at how he reached the Sting House in the first place. So this creep went by the screen name Long Beach Dude 19. And right from the beginning of his conversation, Matt was very clear about his intentions with the girl. Matt said that he would like to go down on her, and by doing so, he tried to convince her that she'd go to heaven for just letting him do it. I'm not sure about heaven, but after this, he's headed towards jail for
What?
sure. Well, this
That
time,
man
I'm sure
weird.
he's definitely not coming back. The only thing
He
that got
tripping.
triggered when he spotted Hanson was his fright and flight mode. And that's
Wait,
exact.
bro. Y'all
The only
see
thing
that?
that got triggered when he spotted
Look,
Hanson
how you gonna walk right past the TV and it say 9/11 on it? That boy obviously getting
was
set
his
up.
fright and flight mode.
He
And that's
naive too.
exactly what he did. In seconds, Matt was gone like the wind. But wait, that's not what happened now, did it? Matt simply
See, he
froze,
coulda got away
and the
from
only
that.
way to shake him up was by doing this. Looking at him writhing on the ground like that is just the chef's kiss. Now, some of you may not agree with the use of tasers, but don't you think these guys were here to do worse? I think a few little jolts from a taser to knock them off won't do much harm for sure, but this next creep came prepared with his escape plan.
He had the bolt back and the magazines, all he had to do was tap them in.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. He's a cop too.
41-year-old Todd Spikes was making his way to the Sting House, almost 350 miles away. Wow, talk about being dedicated to meeting a minor. I really want to know, are these creeps' brains wired differently or what? Well, none of the crew members were actually expecting this guy to show up. But not only did he show up, but he also brought along something in his truck. Right from his screen name to his dirty brain, everything about this guy is disgusting. Guess what he called himself online? Todd went by the name Loves to Eat Your Peach, and this guy was in touch with
Loves
the
to
decoy
eat
for
your
over a month. During this time, Todd made his intentions clear to her, and this included some crazy stuff as well. This guy is so disgusting that he first shares pictures of himself jerking off, and when the decoy told him that she lived with her mother, this is what he had to say.
Spike says he could become the mother's boyfriend, come to live at their house, and have with both of them.
That's some elaborate plan
I
right
don't know
there.
about
Todd
that
had planned the
now.
entire thing way more than you can imagine. He even promised the decoy to have some alone time with her while her mother was not around, but that's not
Ew, but then you would have my mom germs on you. I'd wash it off before.
it. Todd even wanted to watch the decoy blow another man in his presence. Well, this
What?
guy seems to have a
Hold
long
on,
list of
so
things
boy
to be
talk about
done,
running
and
a
he
train
knew
on her.
exactly where to find this other man as well.
Probably the mall, or maybe on here, but the mall is a sure place.
Todd then tells the decoy that he can't tell anyone about this, since he was a cop, and that he quit being one to take over a family business. Yeah, I think I know what sort of a family business this guy handles, but I can't get over having another cop on this list of creeps yet again. And since Todd knew he could get into trouble, he made sure he was safe by circling around the house a couple of times, just to keep a watch over any suspicious activity. Not sure what ticked him off, but Todd decided to stall his visit and drive right away, but the cops who were already notified of his arrival stopped him on his way back. Once placed under arrest, the cops searched his car and found a gun on him in his front pocket, and this gun was actually loaded and ready to fire. But was that the only thing the cops found? Take a look at this.
An arsenal of weapons. This military assault rifle that was leaning on the passenger
That
seat,
boy was finna
ready
go
to
to
fire.
war.
Rifles and bulletproof vests? What the hell? Jesus, this guy is crazy. Forget meeting the decoy. This guy had crazier plans in store for the night, I guess. And I am more than glad that the cops caught on to him just in time. This dude is easily looking at least 6 years in jail, and I wish he's sentenced to a lot more than just that. But this next predator, 26-year-old Joshua Larius, who went by the screen name Downtown San Diego, chatted up with the decoy who was barely a teen. He started off the conversation by sending obscene pictures of himself. Not a weird way to flirt at all, especially with someone way younger, right? As the conversation went on, he asked the girl if she could come visit him, which is never going to happen anyway.
Another thing I don't get about these people is they're always like AIs, where they just talk so weird. Like, would you like to see my cock? Like they talk like Indians, bro.
But this creep had his hopes high. What's more is that he asked her if she was ready to do anything that he asked her to. Bro, did you forget she's not a wind-up toy? But wait till you hear what he expects her to do. This one is going to throw you off your chair.
Larios asks the girl to appear naked in front of her father.
I want you to let him catch you naked.
And that's not it. He then wants her to wear a skirt in front of her teachers and open her legs wide. This guy had some crazy ideas, but I guess he forgot he was talking to a kid. This confidence of his behind the screen continued when he walked towards the decoy to shake her hand. But here comes somebody else who wanted to shake his hand.
It's kind of weird. I haven't done that.
Here, you shake my hand. Sir?
Joshua bolted towards the door as soon as he saw Hanson, and I don't
So,
even
hold
think
on there,
he
you
knew
can
he
hold
was
mine
on
then.
TV. He gave Hanson no time to explain the situation and just ran out of the house. Now here's where things get interesting. Surprisingly, Joshua got lucky. Not only did he reach his car, but he also managed to drive away in his jet black Lexus.
That
Whoa,
boy's
this guy might be the
slowly,
only one
I'd
who
be
managed to
cruising.
escape without a scratch on him. But that's not what happened. What followed was a hot pursuit when an undercover car followed right behind him. And this is what happened next.
Just around the corner, Larios is pulled over by a squad car and gives up peacefully.
We're code 4 on the stop, 1 in custody.
Once he was transported to the interrogation center,
But I mean,
Joshua
really, it
failed
don't
to
do no
speak
good
up
running.
unless he
They
had his
already,
attorney
like, got your
present. With all
face,
the
yeah.
evidence against him, I don't think anyone can save him, let alone his
They can
attorney.
find
And
you.
just as I'd
It's
hoped
not like
for,
you're
the
gonna
creep
be
was
away
charged for
forever.
attempted lewd act and for sending harmful matter to a minor. We've got this predator from the Sunshine State, who might be the most twisted and
He look
evil
like a
person to ever be
zombie.
featured on the show.
And
Why, he
how
look
old
like
is the
something
girl
out The
you
Walking
came to
Dead.
see here today?
She says she's 13.
13.
Meet Ham Bubger. Yes, this is the
Ham
same
Bubger.
guy who sparked off a wide range of memes on the net. The man was so creepy that he left a disturbing legacy behind him. So Ham Bubger was the screen name of a 53-year-old retired truck driver from Jacksonville, Florida. There is no doubt that this pedo raised the bar of spookiness like never before. The man we're talking about is
See, he
James
looks like a
Wiles,
zombie.
and he was en route to the Flagler Beach House with some really
That's
evil
creeping me
intentions. One thing I have to say, evil or not, Wiles was smart. Just take a look at the screen name he went by. He could easily catch an underage kid's attention. It didn't sound spooky or intimidating like most other predators. If anything, it was really catchy. I mean, Ham Bubger sounds like a silly guy on the other side. But behind all of it was a man whose intentions
That
were
is
anything
pretty
but
good, man.
funny. And the decoy who was claimed to be 13 years old found out about his dirty and dark truth pretty early in their chat. Once Claire, who hailed from Daytona Beach, contacted Wiles, he did not waste any time to get down to business. He was outright and honest about his intentions right from the beginning. And what's more, he gave his dirty intentions the name of love.
See, he said they just started texting. She said 13. I'm a female from Daytona. Automatically, Ham Bubger. Hi, sweetie. I love you, dear. With all of my heart and my body, soul.
better way to
Like,
lead a child
they
into
talk
the
like
wrong path
AIs.
than play with their fickle emotions. And this man
You are
was
the
no
air I
rookie
breathe.
to this atrocious activity. Wiles was
Old
so
people
desperate
really be
that he got
talking like
straight to
that.
the point.
Old
He skipped
people.
all of the introductions and everything else, and directly told Claire that he wanted to her. But of course, he didn't force her into anything, since he wanted it to be her decision in the end. Quite the clever
feel you.
play, don't you
I feel
think?
you.
Once he sensed that Claire was in on his game, he went on to detail every bit of what he wanted to do with her. And the way he described it is sure to turn your stomach. The decoy Claire played along with Wiles, since it was crucial that the team get him over to the Sting House. When Wiles said that he wanted to flick his tongue inside of her, Claire gave him assurance by saying that she wouldn't mind doing anything he asked, as long as he was gentle. Surely the game going back and forth. Wiles also hadn't noticed anything suspicious in the chats and continued, unaware that he'd been caught in the trap. Wiles had many more fantasies that he mentioned to Claire, and one of them was that when the two meet, he'd like it if Claire was in her Oh wait, not just any underwear, but a pink one to be exact. Claire responded and told Wiles that she didn't mind any of that, but she also had a request
Bro,
of her
what?
own. She asked Wiles
This man
whether he
got
could
some
grab
bad
her a
taste,
couple
too.
of
Old people
M&Ms
got
on the
bad
way,
taste.
and this statement sealed the
I'm
deal.
trying to see
Wiles
some
had
booty. I'm
arrived at
trying
the
to see
house where a
some black
19-year-old
shorts. You know what
actress had
I'm
been
saying?
hired by Dateline NBC to
But
play the
I'm-
role of
I'm-
Claire.
I'm not
This
into
man could hardly
little
walk
girls
straight.
like that.
I'm not sure what he was ailing from physically, but when it comes to his head, this man was definitely sick. Once inside, Claire inquired if he got what she had asked for, And yup, he had kept his side of the deal. And now it was time for Claire to keep hers. And so, under the pretense of changing
what's
her
she give him?
clothes, Claire left the room. In split seconds, Wiles began preparing for what was to follow. He was in such a
We're
hurry
only
that almost
16 minutes in.
immediately
I
he started to
recorded
play
20
around with
minutes.
his man tool. And that's exactly when Chris Hansen made an entry. But Wiles
Oh,
was unfazed.
what?
That's exactly when
Bruh,
Chris Hansen made
y'all
an
see
entry.
that?
But Wiles
That
was
boy playing with his
unfazed.
schmeat on there, bruh.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I'm coming to see her.
When Hansen asked him if he knew what the age of the girl was, Wiles claimed that he did not intend to have 13-year-old girl, but was only here
That's why
for
you was
a
just playing with
visit.
your junk?
When Hansen tried to read out the
Oh,
chat
man.
logs, the pervert blatantly jumped in to make his point. And what he said next will prove to you that he was way more twisted than you would have ever thought. Well, you have to see this to believe it.
We will be making love all the time I'm there. Okay, cool. With my tongue up your blank.
Gosh, this guy was really crazy. Who speaks like that? But Hansen was
He looked
no
like a dark
fool to
elf
fall
from
for his
Skyrim.
lies. Hansen decides to cut the crap and reveal his true identity. But Wiles continued to remain calm and composed. It was as if he already knew that he wouldn't get into much trouble. He, however, insisted that all he was looking for was friendship. Yeah, right. Just as he was about to leave, the inevitable happened.
It's police who are gonna do the arrest.
Turn around.
Once at the police headquarters, Wiles was questioned about his vile intentions, but he repeatedly refused to give
Oh,
in.
shit. Nah, bruh. Nah, look.
Wiles was
Look.
questioned about his
Hold on.
vile intentions.
He looked like a goblin from the Elder Scroll Blades. That's what he looked like.
But he repeatedly
Yeah, he looked
refused
like-
to give in.
like Baby
Despite
Yoda.
being charged on 4
That
counts, the
lad,
police
what?
end up making a grave mistake. They let him go. Although Wiles was
What?
conditionally released, this was all that he needed to make a run. He was on the run for a while before getting arrested. However, this too lasted only a brief time. So, did he escape again? Well, this time, he died! James Wilde died in his cell even before he could get
That's
convicted.
crazy.
Sure, there's no greater escape than death, but a source revealed that his last few days were extremely painful. In this case, do you think death came as a punishment or maybe a means of escape? While I let you give that a good thought, this next predator
Punishment.
came along with his escape plan. While predators usually bring drinks or chocolates, this one brought something else. Correction. Someone else, actually.
Here comes another computer engineer.
Double dates are usually fun.
See, them Indian people, bro, them Mexicans that like work at the gas station, bro, them people always look crazy to me. I've always been scared of some Mexican and Indians, because you never know what they do. Them people are crazy and they're quiet. They're just quiet. You don't never see them talking too much. They just, oh, I kill you. Like, man, I don't fuck with Indians, bro. I don't fuck with.
But when it involves underage kids, it's downright
Look
disgusting.
at that, bro.
Well, that pretty much sums
If I
up
was
this
that little
next
girl, I'd
predator
run.
story.
I will kiss you from top to bottom. I will treat you nicely. How do you like to be loved?
25-year-old Pulkit Matur chatted up with a decoy named Kiera. Matur, a computer engineer by profession, went by the screen name Pookie007 US, and from what I understand, this wasn't his first interaction with an underage teen. Kiera made it a point to bring up her age often during the conversation, but Matur didn't seem to be bothered by the fact that the girl was just 13 years old. All he wanted was Once Matur zeroed in on a date, he then went on to ask Kiera a very strange question. Matur wanted to know if the 13-year-old had a friend who would be interested to spend the night with them. Oh no, he wasn't looking for he was looking for a partner for his friend. The only problem being they were dealing with kids.
And what'd you guys bring?
A lot of sandwiches.
Oh, yes, I love sandwiches.
When the decoy asked them to get into the hot tub, both the men were beaming with excitement, but soon it would all be washed away. Just as the decoy left to change, Chris Hansen popped up from nowhere, and this is what he asked.
Lunch? What are you guys doing?
I think just ready to have some food and all.
Some food.
Both
Oh,
the
we
men
just
were in
having food,
absolute
just
shock,
food,
but neither of
sandwiches,
them
you
wanted
want
to
one,
show their
buddy?
distress. Matur then explained that he was in the U.S.
I'm
on
playing
business
this.
matters, and that he wasn't a permanent resident of the country. Probably he thought being a foreigner meant he would be freed, but sadly for him, it proved to be more trouble. What was he expecting? Like as if we don't have enough predators out here that we would encourage others to roam free. When Kanish kept trying to prove his innocence, Hansen pulled out the chat logs. At that very moment, Matur realized that they were in deep. He tries to rubbish the chat logs by saying this.
No, it's right here.
Yeah, I might have chatted, but that was only for Like, that's a chatting, that's not nothing intentional.
But when the heat started to rise,
Mm-hmm.
Kanish threw his friendship out of the window
see, I
and his
believe
friend
him.
under the bus. He blamed the
Truly.
entire thing on Mature and said that he was only here to help him around the town. But was he as innocent as he claimed to be? Of course not. Kanish was himself in touch with another 13-year-old decoy. When the decoy asked him what sort of things guys do with girls, he gave a very sly answer. It was so smart that he answered her question and yet did not say anything sleazy. Well, this is what he said.
Come on, Amanda, you don't know that? And then says, for the same reason, Pulkit is meeting
See,
Kira.
I could tell he talking like that too. He probably like, you know how some people be talking in their head before they send a message. He probably was like, "Oh, you don't know that?"
After Hanson reveals himself, both the men start to bricks. Right off
I'm
the
not
bat, they
racist,
started apologizing, but it only fell
just
on
him.
deaf ears. Both the men were escorted
deserved
to
to
the
get
police
racism.
headquarters for
Him.
further interrogation. Was convicted of his felonies. He
of
managed
what
to
he done.
avert the authorities by skipping his court date. He probably fled the country before any more restrictions were put into place. Kanish, on the other hand, managed to get away since his chats did not have substantial evidence against him. Now, let me tell you what is scary about this encounter. It's not just the fact that two predators got away, it's even more worrisome that they knew how to get away. But this next predator, 23-year-old Stanley Kendall, was a high school math teacher. Just think about all the kids he was in contact with. Anything could have happened to anyone.
God, he looked like
but
a creep.
online, Stanley went by the screen name StainMac1. To exercise his hair-raising fantasies, Stanley struck up a conversation with a 13-year-old boy. Barely 2 minutes into that chat, Kendall asked the boy whether he would like to play with him. To get more clarity, the decoy asked him what he meant by it. And this is when Kendall continues to explicitly explain what he intended to do as play. In his own words, he said, "I love to play and play with and lick."
Listen, man, there's some movie that my papa be saying he watched. It's like, I don't know what it's called. It's something scary. I don't know. But to me, it looked like a Frankenstein knockoff. But I've never watched Frankenstein. It looked like someone like Frankenstein. But I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it is. But this dude, I recognize him from that. I feel like I have seen this dude. But
Coming from a man of his age and reputation, this is absolutely shocking. When the decoy tried to act innocent, Kendall offered to teach him how to do things. And this time, it wasn't about math. He first sent a photo of his and this is how the rest of the conversation went like.
Do you want to play with it?
Well, only if you're nice to me and
it's
don't make
alright. It's alright. He just want to play. He just want to teach her math. Like, you know, add him, subtract clothes. You
fun
know.
of me if I don't do
Yeah.
something right.
Ain't nothing
Of
wrong
course,
with
I
that.
can teach you by
Chris?
doing it to you.
The only thing Kendall wanted in
Or this.
return was the reassurance that the cops wouldn't be involved. This is quite a sly ploy, since Kendall was fully aware of what he was doing. However, he had already given the cops enough evidence to book him under various felonies. But that's not what happened. Cut to when Kendall entered the Sting house. The decoy offered him a drink, but Kendall refused to take.
I remember this dude. See, this dude, he got paid like $5,000. This guy right here for like $5,000 just to play one thingy of this, bro. This guy played a big part in To Catch a Predator.
Take it. The decoy then asked him to elaborate on what they were about to do. But even before he could finish replying, Hanson walks right in saying,
A lesson planned for tonight.
Oops.
Sorry for what?
I thought this was a joke.
You thought what was a joke?
That's
he
my
thought this
line.
was a what? A joke? Okay. Are you kidding me? Kendall tries desperately to prove his innocence and even reveals that he is a 6th grade math teacher at a school nearby. But Hanson immediately takes this point and turns it around at Kendall.
They have a conversation like this and come visit a 13-year-old boy. What have you been doing with
Why do
students?
they always blur
Kendall,
out the
however,
ages? I
was
don't get
offended
it.
that Hanson was trying to sling mud at his profession, to which he had dedicated 23 long years. Well, the job which he was gloating about so much was now in jeopardy. And so he tried his best to get off the hook and started to apologize repeatedly. However, he was thrown behind bars. Kendall's bail was set at $50,000, and he was also placed on administrative leave indefinitely. He went on to serve his time in jail for a few months, but something happened. How did this old man escape? Did someone help him break out? Not literally, but that's exactly what happened. I'm not entirely sure if Kendall got back to teaching, but it's bad enough that he was let out into
He
the
broke
streets
out.
again. But this next predator does something crazy when he sees the camera crew.
I mean, this guy.
I gotta take off. Sir, I need to talk to you for a minute.
Sir.
Maurice
Oh.
Wolin had a
Y'all see this dude right here? This dude right here looked like the guy off. He looked like the old man off of House. House. That's what it's called. It's called House. Yep.
Noble job, but an equally disgusting mind. The cancer research doctor, despite all of his qualifications, found pleasure in exploiting the innocence of underage teens. The doctor pulled up to the decoy's house, who claimed to be 13 years old. He tries to initiate a conversation between them as he pours himself a drink. We all know what this is leading up to, but how did he get here in the first place? Going by the name of Tall Dreamy Doc, Lin had started a conversation with the decoy by introducing himself to be 29 years old. In truth, he was all of 48. Lin made nasty comments about how he wanted to caress the decoy's and how he was aroused. He even asked the decoy to herself while thinking about him. Well, Lin knew what he was doing, since he even mentioned that if he were to get caught, it would be a lot of trouble for him, which makes me wonder, why then take the risk at all? Meanwhile, let's go back to when Lin poured himself a drink. I'm not sure if he had shaky hands or was just being clumsy, but he ended up spilling all over the counter. In order to clear the mess up, he goes in search of a towel, and that is when this happened.
I gotta take off. Sir?
After spotting Chris Hansen and the entire camera crew, Lin bolts towards the exit, but how far can he really get?
On the ground. I wasn't gonna do it. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Before we get to that, since you got this far in my video, I'm sure as you're enjoying it. So to make sure you stay updated with all the amazing content that I have for you, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel. Let's see what happens with the demented doctor. He spent 2 months in jail and got a lifetime registration as a registered offender. Doesn't seem like the most effective punishment after what he had done. His license to practice medicine was revoked after his conviction, but Lin doesn't end it there just yet. He hires an attorney to fight his case for over 2 years before pleading no contest. This man did not deserve to get off that easily, but somehow that's what happened. Despite all the heinous acts they committed, these predators escaped justice. The show went to great lengths to capture these perverts, but one single lawsuit against the show screwed everything up for them. You think perverted justice should make a comeback? Well, I sure do. But would Chris Hansen agree to host the show? Now that's something we've got to find out. Meanwhile, keep your...
Yeah, so this was an upload by Film Digest. I'll leave a link to his channel in the original video, the description. But thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video.